Your legs weaken first in old age. Eat these 4 key foods to strengthen them. Senior health. Have you noticed that your legs don't feel as strong as they once did? Maybe standing up from a chair takes more effort, or walking long distances leaves you feeling drained. If so, you're not alone. Leg strength quietly declines with age, and for many, the first real sign comes too late. A stumble, a wobble, or even a fall. The truth is, weak legs don't just affect mobility, they impact your independence, your confidence, and your quality of life. But here's what most people don't realize. You don't have to accept this as part of aging. Muscle loss, poor circulation, and joint stiffness aren't inevitable, they're preventable. And the secret to keeping your legs strong and stable? It's not just exercise. It's nutrition. In today's video, we're revealing 4 essential foods that can protect your leg strength, improve circulation, and reduce stiffness. Each one plays a key role in keeping you mobile and independent, and the last one is the most overlooked, but can make a dramatic difference. So stay with me until the end, because small changes now can keep you on your feet for years to come. If you're ready to take control of your strength, type 1 in the comments, and let's get started. Food 1. Salmon? Hippocrates once said, "Let food be thy medicine and medicine be thy food." The power to heal, to strengthen, and to restore lies not in pills alone, but in what we put on our plates. Yet many of us overlook this simple truth until our bodies begin to fail us. We assume that aching joints, sluggish steps, and muscle loss are just part of getting older, something we must accept. But what if I told you that what you eat today determines how strong you'll be tomorrow? I knew a man named George. He was 72, a proud and independent man who had spent his life as a carpenter, building homes with his own 2 hands. He had always believed that staying active was enough to keep him strong, walking every day, moving around the house, running errands. It had always worked before. But one day, as he was working in his garage, he bent down to grab a toolbox and struggled to stand back up. His legs felt weak, unstable. He brushed it off. But then he noticed his steps becoming shorter, his knees feeling stiff, and standing up from a chair requiring more effort than before. At first, George did what most people do. He ignored it. "I'm just getting older," he told himself. But the feeling didn't go away. Then, one morning, as he stepped out of bed, his knee buckled beneath him. He caught himself just in time, but the scare was real. That was the moment he knew something had to change. At his next doctor's appointment, he brought it up. His doctor listened, nodded, and then asked a question that caught him off guard. "How much protein do you eat?" Jacob frowned. Protein? He hadn't thought about it much. Breakfast was toast and coffee. Lunch was usually a sandwich. Dinner? Whatever was easy. Meat wasn't something he had regularly, especially not fish. The doctor explained something that changed George's perspective completely. After 60, we naturally lose muscle at a faster rate. Without enough protein, our bodies can't rebuild what's lost, and without omega-3 fatty acids, inflammation sets in, making movement even harder. That's why your legs feel weaker. George asked what he should do, expecting a long list of changes. Instead, his doctor gave him one simple recommendation: eat salmon twice a week. Salmon, he explained, is one of the best sources of high-quality protein and omega-3s, both essential for maintaining muscle strength and reducing joint stiffness. George was skeptical. Could something as simple as eating fish really make a difference? But he had nothing to lose, so he tried it. Twice a week he had salmon for dinner. He added some vegetables, sometimes a little rice, and went on with his life. He didn't expect much, but within weeks, something happened. His legs felt stronger. Standing up from a chair didn't require as much effort. His knees didn't ache in the mornings. And one day, as he stepped off a curb, he realized he wasn't hesitating anymore. His legs felt stable, secure, trustworthy. That moment made him realize something. Aging isn't just about what you lose, it's about what you fight to keep. Strength isn't stolen overnight. It slips away gradually, meal by meal, choice by choice. And sometimes regaining it is as simple as putting the right food on your plate. What about you? Have you noticed changes in your strength or mobility? Have you made a small change that helped? Share your story in the comments. You never know, your experience might help someone else take back control of their health before it's too late. Food 2. Greek yogurt. Plato once said, "The part can never be well unless the whole is well." Health isn't just about what we feel in the moment. It's about the foundation we build over time. Yet many of us don't realize that the small choices we make every day either strengthen or weaken our foundation. That's why so many people, as they age, find themselves suddenly unable to do what once felt effortless, standing up without struggling, walking long distances without aching, moving without hesitation. But what if the key to reversing this decline isn't in a pill but in something as simple as what we put on our plate? I once knew a man named Richard. He was 70, retired, and had spent his life as a proud and independent man. He had always believed that if he kept moving, his body would stay strong. He walked daily, did yard work, and even helped his wife around the house. But something had changed. His legs felt weaker. Getting up from a chair required more effort. Walking on uneven ground felt unsteady, almost risky. His knees ached, and his steps weren't as firm as before. At first, he ignored it. After all, he was still active. What more could he do? But then, one morning, he nearly lost his balance stepping off a curb. His wife saw him stagger and gave him a worried look. That was the moment it hit him. This wasn't just stiffness, he was losing strength. A few days later, at his doctor's appointment, he finally brought it up. The doctor listened and then asked, "How much protein and calcium do you get in your diet?" Richard hesitated. He had never thought about it much. Breakfast was usually toast and coffee, lunch, a sandwich, dinner, a little of whatever his wife made. He wasn't eating much dairy and certainly not enough protein. The doctor explained something that surprised him. After 60, muscle loss accelerates if the body isn't getting enough protein, and without enough calcium and vitamin D, bones become weaker, more fragile, more likely to break in a fall. That was why his legs felt so unstable. His muscles weren't being fueled properly, and his bones weren't getting the support they needed. Then the doctor gave him a simple recommendation. Start eating Greek yogurt every day. It was packed with high-quality protein to rebuild muscle, calcium to strengthen bones, and vitamin D to improve balance and stability. At first, Richard was skeptical. Could something as simple as eating Greek yogurt really make a difference? But he decided to try. Every morning, instead of his usual toast, he had a cup of Greek yogurt. Some days he added honey. Other days, nuts or berries for extra nutrients. He didn't expect much, but within weeks something changed. His legs felt stronger. He could get up from a chair more easily. His knees ached less. One morning, without thinking, he stepped off a curb with confidence. And then it dawned on him. He hadn't felt unsteady in days. That's when he realized, weakness doesn't just happen. It's the result of years of neglect, and strength doesn't return overnight. It's built through small daily choices. What about you? Have you noticed changes in your strength or balance? Have you made a simple change that made a big difference? Share your story in the comments. Your experience might help someone else realize it's never too late to take back control of their health. Food 3. Spinach. Hippocrates once said, "All parts of the body that have a function, if used in moderation and exercised in labors to which each is accustomed, become thereby healthy, well-developed, and age more slowly. But if they are left idle, they become liable to disease, defective in growth, and age quickly." The human body, much like the rivers that carve the land, thrives when movement is unimpeded. But when circulation slows, much like a stagnant river, the body begins to suffer. Legs grow heavy, muscles tire easily, and the simple act of walking feels burdensome. I knew a man named Frank, a 74-year-old retired school principal, who once walked the halls of his school with confidence, his presence alone enough to quiet an unruly classroom. But now, his steps were slower, his energy drained. He noticed that his legs felt tired, sluggish, and unsteady. Some nights painful cramps would wake him, twisting his calves into knots of discomfort. He assumed it was just a part of aging, something inevitable. One morning, while visiting his daughter, he watched his 5-year-old grandson run barefoot across the yard. The boy's legs carried him effortlessly, his movements full of life. Frank looked down at his own legs, rubbing his calf absent-mindedly. How had something as simple as walking become so exhausting? Concerned, his daughter scheduled a checkup. The doctor listened, nodded, and said, "Frank, this isn't just aging, it's circulation. Your blood isn't flowing efficiently, which means your muscles aren't getting the oxygen they need. That's why they feel tired all the time." Frank's diet, filled with processed foods and too much salt, wasn't helping. You need to add more greens to your meals. Spinach, in particular, can work wonders for circulation. Frank was skeptical. Could something as simple as spinach really help? But the doctor explained that spinach was rich in nitrates, which help widen blood vessels and improve oxygen delivery to muscles. It was also packed with magnesium and potassium, essential for preventing muscle cramps and keeping the heart strong. Determined, Frank decided to make a change. He started small, adding spinach to his morning eggs, tossing it into soups, blending it into a smoothie with some banana and yogurt. It wasn't a drastic shift, but it was consistent. The first week nothing much changed, but by the second week he noticed something. His legs didn't feel as heavy when he walked. By the third week the nighttime cramps had stopped. By the end of the month he found himself walking longer distances without needing to sit down every few minutes. Then, one afternoon he stood outside watching his grandson again. This time, instead of standing idly by, he walked out onto the grass and joined in. Frank learned something powerful that day. What we put into our bodies today determines what they can do tomorrow. Aging isn't about stopping, it's about adapting, fueling, and strengthening. Have you ever felt like your legs weren't as strong as they used to be? Have you made a small change in your diet or lifestyle that had a big impact? Share your story in the comments. You never know, your experience might help someone else reclaim their strength before it's too late. Food for eggs. Hippocrates once said, if we could give every individual the right amount of nourishment and exercise, we would have found the safest way to health. Strength is not just about how much you move, it's about what you feed your body, and yet many people overlook one of the simplest, most powerful sources of muscle-building nutrition: eggs. I knew a man named Harold. He was 70, a retired mechanic, a man who had spent decades working with his hands, fixing engines, lifting heavy tools, and moving from one task to another with ease. Strength had always been second nature to him, until it wasn't. One morning he stepped onto a curb and felt his leg wobble beneath him. He caught himself, but the feeling unsettled him. It wasn't the first time either. Lately his legs felt weaker, his balance less reliable. He had brushed it off as just getting older, but in the back of his mind he wondered, was this how it started? A few weeks later, Harold was at the grocery store when he saw an older man struggling to lift a bag of groceries into his cart. He stepped forward to help, only to realize his own grip wasn't as firm as it used to be. He managed, but something about that moment stayed with him. That night, he sat at the kitchen table, staring at his usual breakfast sitting on the counter. A loaf of white bread and a tin of instant coffee. He had been eating the same thing for years. At his next doctor's visit, he mentioned his growing weakness. The doctor asked, "What do you eat for breakfast?" Harold shrugged. "Toast, coffee, maybe some fruit if he felt like it." The doctor nodded knowingly. "That's the problem. You're not getting enough protein to rebuild your muscles. As we age, we naturally lose muscle mass, and if we don't eat enough protein, our bodies can't replace what's lost. That's why your legs feel weaker." Harold was surprised. He had never thought about breakfast as anything more than a way to start the day. The doctor suggested something simple. Start eating eggs every morning. Eggs are packed with high-quality protein, vitamin B12 for nerve function, and vitamin D to keep bones strong. More importantly, they were easy to make, something Harold could actually stick to. So he gave it a try. Every morning, instead of toast, he had 2 eggs. Some days scrambled, some days boiled, some days in an omelet with spinach and cheese. At first, he didn't notice much. But after a few weeks, something happened. His legs felt steadier. He could step onto curbs without hesitation. One morning, out of curiosity, he tested his balance by standing on one foot. He wobbled a little at first, but then steadied himself. It was a small moment, but it meant everything. Harold realized something that day. Aging doesn't mean weakness. It means adapting. He hadn't lost his strength. He had just stopped feeding it. Have you ever noticed a change in your strength or balance? Have you made small changes that made a difference? Share your story in the comments. Your experience might help someone else realize it's never too late to rebuild strength. Now that you know the 4 best foods for keeping your legs strong and steady, the real question is, what will you do with this information? Weakness and instability don't appear overnight, and neither does strength. It's built with small, consistent choices, the kind that add up over time. A plate of salmon instead of processed meat. Eat a bowl of Greek yogurt instead of sugary snacks. a handful of spinach tossed into your meals, and a simple egg in the morning to start your day right. These aren't drastic changes, they're tiny investments in your independence. You don't have to accept slower steps or shaky balance as part of aging. You have more control than you think, and the best time to start? Today. Which of these foods do you already eat? And which one will you add first? Drop a comment below, I'd love to hear your thoughts. If this video helped you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Your support means more than you know, and it helps us bring you even more ways to stay strong and independent. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.